Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Mile High Sports Symposium. I am your host, JT Matthews, at JTMatthews01 on Twitter, and I'm here with the Dr. Nicholas Manning at Dr. Manning on Twitter as well. Doc, happy Wednesday. We're back at it. There's been a lot going on last week, so we got a lot to cover, but how's your week been?
It's been good, man. It's been good. The temp's starting to warm up a little bit. But been productive, and you know what? I'm holding my head high after a really good Broncos season, even though it didn't end the way that we would like.
Sure.
But overall, I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. It's we got a lot to cover today. So we'll probably just jump right in. I want to talk a little bit about. Let's start with CU and not anything about the football program, or at least on the field, but Coach Prime and the trade rumors of him going to coach the Dallas Cowboys. It's kind of been in the news cycle lately. I'd say probably about, I don't even know, maybe not even a week, but heard a little bit about it, like maybe Sunday, Saturday. And it seems like he's in Dallas now, potentially having chats with Jerry Jones about the opening since Mike McCarthy's left. What's your feeling about Coach Dion going to the NFL, the chances of it, and kind of the fit in Dallas in particular?
Yeah, let's see. If there were an NFL franchise that would push the boundaries to have or encourage Prime to be Prime, like it would be Dallas. You know, there's just limitations to like what he can do, what he can wear on the sidelines, right? Like Kyle Shanahan can't wear his flat-billed hat.
Right.
Because I mean, it's the no fun league for a reason. So would Prime be able to be as much Prime as he wants? I don't think so. But if there were two men with strong egos that thinks that things will go their way, it would be Jira and Prime. So I think if there were an NFL option, it would be that. It's super interesting. Like, would he want to go and coach against his kids in the NFL?
Right.
And you know, do they have a beat on I think because they're the 12th pick, so it'd take a lot to get to one. When Tennessee being a team that needs a quarterback, so you know, it's not exactly, you know, you can trade Dak, and then we thought the Russell Wilson cap hell was rough. That Dak extension that he just signed last year will be a strong inhibitor. So if the only place I think he goes other than Boulder would be the Cowboys. He's plus 100 right now. So the line has shrunk, in him being right now he's the betting favorite to land that job. If he does land that job, then I think we can write in Sharpie that Shador and Shiloh will go there, because I don't think he wants to coach against his kids. Like, that would be really hard, especially like the quarterback position, and you're scheming and you're trying to get free rushers to go and hit your kid. Like, I don't know, man. He just seems like too much of a dad, and I mean that in all reverence as a father ourselves. So I think it has legs. I don't think it will happen. I think what he's built in Boulder, to me, I think can't be duplicated. Is he trying to get more money or booster stuff? Maybe, maybe. Why not? He could be. Just be careful with that. Getting rich donors frustrated. They got egos too.
Sure.
Don't forget you went 9-4. It's not like we won a natty, in Boulder. Right. So I think it has legs. I think they're short legs. I'd say I'm like 70% confident he comes back to Boulder. 30% that he would go to Dallas, just because the NFL could offer him so much more money.
Yeah.
Sean Payton is the second highest paid coach, I think, at $19 million ish. The NFL doesn't have any rules or stipulations on how much it can offer you, right? And the highest paid, I think, college coaches are in the low tens, something like that. I mean, it's just significant. He can take all of his branding with him, so he can Coach Prime it up. I don't think we're at practice and stuff. I don't know. So I would be sad because I think a good chunk of that staff would go with him. Warren Sapp, et cetera. I think those guys would rather go coach in professional football, probably.
Yeah.
So I think it would be really tough for that team to rebound because you'd have to really strike a home run with a coach. Stat and pronto. So they'd have to swing pretty big. Would someone come? Because you got to keep the guys who you got. You got some pretty talented guys coming in. This roster is going to continue to get stronger. So I hope that it's not true.
Yeah.
Well, I know that it's true. I know that they've talked. I don't believe it will come into fruition. So I think he'll be in Boulder. I think he'll be in Boulder at least for a few more years. And if they're competing for the playoffs every year, do you need to go to the SEC? Like with the 12 team, it's kind of set up for him to really have some long success and be, a Saban type figure in the sport. So Prime, just stay, bro. Just stay.
Yeah, it's funny because it's interesting because I don't know that we've seen enough from Prime to feel confident that he could be an NFL coach. I don't know that his resume is long enough. I don't know that, maybe recruiting matters a little bit in the NFL, but money talks more than anything else. And we're finding that to be true with the transfer portal now too. Mm-hmm. And obviously I think guys came to Colorado because they want to be coached by Prime, but I don't know. I don't know if Champ Bailey gave a kind of some praise saying he's ready for the NFL. I don't know if that's just a buddy kind of giving a pat on the back or if that's an actual assessment of him as a coach. I think he's a leader. I think he brings accountability to the locker room. I think those are things that he does well. As far as X's and O's go, it's kind of hard to say. College football's so much about talent sometimes that those things got to get thrown on the back burner unless you're one of the top programs.
The NFL isn't a rah-rah league, really, right? Like Dan Campbell can get away with it a little bit, but it took him 4 years to get to now. It's results oriented. And so to think that like that style will work, how frustrated is he going to be when it's 4 losses in a row, especially if you get Shedeur, right? He's getting sacked. The defense is giving him the watch up, which they'll do because defenders want to do that kind of stuff. So I don't think it's that. I think he very much could be a great coach in the NFL, but could be, right? Does he want to take that swing? If it doesn't go well, had he done enough in the college to recreate it pretty quick? Maybe. But I think there's enough smoke that it's a concern, but I don't think enough smoke that I feel like it is, that the fire's immediate or something.
Yeah, and you're looking at some pretty good candidates too. I mean, Kellen Moore, Philly's offensive coordinator, Cliff Kingsbury with Washington had a really great year. Obviously, still in the playoffs. Joe Brady, offensive coordinator for the Bills.
Yep.
Ben Johnson, Lions offensive coordinator. Brian Flores for the Vikings. Pete Carroll, has been his name's out there a little bit.
Yeah, Aaron Glenn, Vance Joseph, I think would be a great. Like, I think that they'll be all right, and I think for them probably, being a sideshow, that they are maybe getting a coach that doesn't need or want the attention. For an organization that wants it, right? Like they are a soap opera. That's what they want to do. That's what it would be. Yeah. If they win along the way, that's great. I think they want to win. I don't think that is their sole objective, right? I think the Penners want to win. That is their sole objective with this outfit. And so do you want a coach that also wants that limelight? I mean, they also have a really great relationship. Shedeur, I think the Sander kids were born in Texas, went to school in Texas. So, there's a lot of stuff probably that would be really great for them getting to come back home and giving it a shot. If he thinks that they could get Shedeur, a 7th round pick to get Shiloh, like they'll be fine. If they think they could, if it's worth it, I don't see why. Like I would, because I think coaching in the NFL, a Super Bowl versus a Natty, like take a Super
Yeah,
Bowl
yeah.
trophy,
And especially
probably.
if your kid comes with
That That said, if I'm primed, do I want to go coach Dak Prescott in a really difficult salary cap position, right? You're dealing with professionals who will tune you out. Some of the guys who don't really care or respect what you did back in the day, like it doesn't hold like it does with 18-year-old kids and that kind of stuff. So I hope that he comes back. I think that he will. I won't be shocked if he doesn't, I guess. Maybe that's
Yeah, I kind of feel the same. It's one of those things where, if the opportunity is right and they want them, and like you said, they're a bit about the glitz and the glamour and the show of it all. So, I mean, bringing Dion would definitely fulfill some of that. And yeah, I mean, if you're Tennessee or New York, maybe it's not so bad. You get Dak Prescott in a first round pick and, swap that for Shedeur Sanders and kind of a weak quarterback class. You may be willing to do that, but it'll be interesting to see how it all shakes out. Obviously, nothing's set in stone yet. Nothing's been offered to anyone, but just an interesting thing to kind of keep an eye on as far as Colorado is concerned. Let's jump to some Nuggets talk really quickly. Jamal Murray went off last night against the Dallas Mavericks. Had 45 in the Nuggets win. That's back-to-back games against the Dallas Mavericks. One without Luka and Kyrie, one without Luka, but Kyrie was back. Dominated. They're 8-2 in their last 10 games, and Jamal Murray just kind of going off, and Jokic being second fiddle. Still had a triple-double, but that's a 10-point, 10 assists, 14 rebound triple-double as opposed to your 35, 15 and 16. Yep. Any takeaway from this game? Do you think it's a sign of things to come for Jamal? Do you think could just be an anomaly? We'll just have to wait and see. What's your kind of gut take on?
That's good, man. I'm not ready to say like he's back. I think he is trending in the right direction. So I think over the last 3 weeks, he's probably averaging 22 a game, especially with that 45 burger. Which, to be honest, if that's where he plays at with what MPJ has provided, what Jokic can do, and with Aaron Gordon healthy, and then you get your Russell Westbrook contributions, then I feel really good about where the team's at. Don't go make a big deal. If you can finally get, Zeke off the books for a backup big that can kind of play, awesome. My feeling right now is if this is how they're playing, which right now they're the 4 seed, and they're only a few games back really of Memphis for the 2. Oklahoma City's 8.5, 9, 9.5 ahead. Yeah, like let them go. 9 games ahead. But the Rockets, who they play tonight, 2.5 games up in kind of the overall standing in the Western Conference. The Grizzlies are half game up. And if the Nuggets can continue to at least trend towards the 4 seed, at least they get that first that first round matchup at home, which if you're going to face these Mavericks, maybe the Lakers, maybe the Timberwolves, having game 7 at home would be great. So I'm encouraged. I'm not ready to drink all the the Nugget syrup yet, just yet. Kind of want to see, give me a month of good steady play, no setbacks and injuries, and I think we're almost there. They're trading in a good direction in January. I could have waited till March, as long as they're and then start going. I'll feel pretty good about it, but I like it, and it's weird, right? If your stars pay or play to their payroll, or their pay, this team's really good. Shocker. It's a struggle when guys making $50 million a year are not playing as well as the guy making $3.25 million a year.
Right.
That's how you construct your team, right? You're constructing it to funnel through the guys that you're paying a ton. So you just need them to perform. How do you feel about it? I know you've been more ears to the Nugget streets. So how does it feel for you?
I feel like Murray. So what I'll say is I think Murray. It's a good sign in my mind. Watching him the way he dominated the game. He was smart. He used his quickness. Mm-hmm. He didn't look tired out there.
Right. I like that you said quickness. That we haven't really said that with Jamal Murray lately.
Yeah, yeah. And I think part of that is with the knee injury that, not injury, but kind of the complications he has with that knee that has the repaired ACL. Flares up on him. They talked about pulling him halfway through the last Dallas game, just due to, or they did pull him, sorry, with inflammation. They talked about pulling him the next one, or just having him sit because of the swelling and inflammation and kind of the pain tolerance. It didn't look like that bothered him at all. So I think it's just something that they're going to have to manage. And we just have to realize that at times it's just going to impact today. It just will. But as long as they're managing it and keeping him healthy for the most part, I think that it's a really good sign for Denver that Jamal finally came out and just kind of owned the game. All the talk has been out there about Russ being the better starter with Jokic, potentially usurping Jamal. Not that I think that was necessarily the talks in the locker room or behind the scenes. But it just seems like, maybe we're putting that to bed a little bit before it got too much momentum. I think there's a question, though, about Russ in that starting unit. And there was an interview, or someone asked Jamal, or not Jamal, Aaron Gordon, a question after the game about how the team's performing and how he's feeling. And basically he said, I don't care whether I start from off the bench, as long as I'm contributing to this team and we're winning, then that matters. Kind of brings up a question about, is this, in the short term at least, do you bring Aaron Gordon off the bench, continue to nurse this calf strain injury that he's been dealing with and let Russ get that starting time? And at some point, he probably will bring Aaron Gordon back in, but maybe you just kind of give him an extended run as the season's on to maintain some health for this team. What's your thought on that?
Yeah, well, let me ask you then, actually. Let me ask you real quick. If the team plays somewhat like this, to some varying degree, do you think, my opinion is, I'm going to run with this team unless there's a really good deal that I feel really good about. I'm not going to trade in PJ, to be honest with you. I think run it back with him, unless I don't want a star for a star. Actually, I think I'm with you now, and I'd rather give me 3 guys that can contribute, that are under team control for another couple years, so you can get some salary cap relief, a little bit of depth. But I'm content on waiting till the summer and then utilizing the opportunity to trade Jamal if you see fit. I think you have more options then on what you can do. You can even trade Aaron Gordon. I wouldn't do that, but you could. So I think, do you think that this team needs to make a move if they're playing to kind of this degree? Murray looks like a 20 to 24 point guy most nights. You got healthy Jokic, healthy Gordon, healthy Westbrook. Would you make a deal? Would you be more or less motivated to make a deal this season to kind of capitalize on the window, or would you be content waiting?
I think that was loud. Sorry. I think you wait. I don't see any reason to make a move now. Again, the options are limited at the moment, and as much as nice it would be to have some depth, you're kind of getting to a point with this team where they're clicking. Those young guys are starting to contribute consistently. Given more opportunity with some of the injuries that have come through. I kind of like at least in the short term, probably not long term, definitely not playoffs, having Aaron Gordon come off the bench, just because. One thing we know is how well Aaron Gordon plays with Nikola Jokic. I don't think him coming off the bench and then getting back into that starting lineup will phase at all. Whereas I think it's probably important to build some of that team chemistry with Russ, with some of those other guys, some of those other starters. So in short term, I kind of like where we're at. I want them. I think at some point we're just going to have to see them up against some of the high-level competition in the NBA and come out on top. Not a hurt Dallas team, as much as nice as it is and as good as that roster is. I think just kind of top to bottom.
Yeah.
When you're missing Luka Doncic, that just changes the feel of those games. We've lost both games that we played against the Cavs. We lost to Boston, however, that was without Jokic. But we've lost a lot of the top 2-3 teams in both the West and the East. when we beat Dallas, it was early in the season. Chet was hurt, I think. And it's going to come down to shooting for me. Like, can we score enough of those teams that are high volume 3-point shooting teams?
Mhm.
Can't come out if we come out slow against those teams. Can we battle back or not? Just kind of at the flip that they score those points. It may just be a question that we have to feel our way through in a playoff series. Because I think regular season, you see these guys putting up these numbers. It is concerning, but also in the last month or so, Denver's the I think 4th best offense in the league, and they don't shoot the three like those other teams. So it's a matter of like style. Does the style that you have still work when it comes to playoff time against those high volume 3 teams? And I'm not sure where that sits right now. And I think that you're just going to have to kind of battle against one of those teams and see how you stack up to decide if you need to make a fundamental change to how this team is drafted, or if you continue with your core. It's going to be a big kind of formative playoff run for the Nuggets, I think, to take advantage of Nikola Jokic in that window that he gives you in his prime, and B, just from a cap standpoint, like, do the guys that we have here, the core that we have here, can they maintain this for a long enough amount of time? Can they be the Steph and Clay and Draymond of this, potential dynasty window, or do we have to make some changes and kind of adapt to the rest of the league?
Yeah, I think that's great. It looks like as of right now, the Nuggets are 3rd in points scored per game, 120. So offense is not a problem. So if we're going to trade MPJ to go get another guy who might score better, doesn't seem like that's the issue. Rebounding, actually 6th in the league.
Yeah.
Assist 1st. So I think they're getting to their kind of play. I think especially when you got a guy like Russ, who is another, triple-double monster, meaning he, for as much as he's going to try and put the ball in the basket, he's going to try and get people involved. You got him and Jokic. I think you have enough star power willing to pass up shots to get other guys involved. And in doing so, I think you get pretty engaged team. So it's really, on the defensive end, and can you score enough to keep it close enough when Jokic is on the bench? Right. Those 2 things, if they feel like they can get better with the guys they have defensively, some health, more consistency together, getting to know each other, strengths and weaknesses, all that good stuff. I think, let's go to battle in the playoffs, because the team last night, if you get anything close to that from Murray, I'll take my chances with anybody on any floor, anywhere with this team. Jokic didn't even look to score, and that's a great place to be. Yeah, that's where he wants to live. He's one of the rare guys that can put up a 50 burger on 60% shooting and doesn't really want to do that.
Right.
I want to do it on our foam hoop downstairs, dunk on my kids all day. So I'm excited for where they're at. I think, like you said last time, I think we jumped the gun a little bit in the demise of the Nuggets, and Murray wasn't healthy. Probably he's kind of a what is it, mercurial? He's kind of a little like brash, a little prickly. You know what I kind of like? You got to have a couple guys like that, that are, I think Russell Westbrook plays that guy, or has played that guy in the locker room. He's great with the guys, all that stuff, media. I really don't care what you think. And I love it. Even when I didn't like him on other teams, at least you know what to expect. I appreciate authenticity at BU, don't bend over backwards for all of this stuff. But I know Murray heard it, that he was a weak league career year at MPJ. Jokic is playing better than his MVP seasons, or since the first one, I think. So, I think he's heard it. I think he feels a little bit more healthy. And if he can be your Robin, and then I think the other guys can do, fill in accordingly. I'm excited for them. So I stay packed unless there's a depth deal that you can make.
Right.
A couple seconds somewhere, future first 5 years down the road for, a guy that is a good, nice athletic 3 and D, D and 3, whatever, which one. But I also would be a fan, whatever deal that they make, if they do make a big one, I think you got to go get guys that are under contract that that this could be your potential core. I think if you trade MPJ for another guy that's going to come off the books like Jimmy Butler, et cetera, the problem being is now you're in such a issue at the tax apron to they leave to bring in outside help. It's going to be a significant challenge. I think that this team, has a good core together. That's a championship caliber core. And so, rolling your dice with it a little bit, I think is the right move for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. It'll be fun to watch this team kind of as they move forward. It's just kind of how they manage the roster and what that ends up looking like. We will talk more about the Nuggets. Obviously, we got a lot of season to go, about halfway through. So tune in for more Nuggets talk. But let's talk about the Broncos. Had a obviously tough loss last Sunday against the Bills, and kind of I don't want to say weak showing, but there were a lot of people speculating the Broncos might be able to hang in this game at the very least. I think you and I had realistic expectations, but we also felt like there was a shot that, hey, you let this team hang around, they've got a chance to surprise people. I think you kind of saw the difference in the rosters. I think, when push came to shove, you saw top to bottom that the Broncos still have another step to take. Whether that be through development or continuity coaching or all of the above. The difference between the Bills and the Broncos this season, there was just a big gap. And that's to be expected for a rookie quarterback. Just kind of your takeaway from that game, and then we'll talk about moving forward.
Yeah, I thought they had a good chance. I thought, if they go in and play tough and hang in, I thought Buffalo was a team that could make some mistakes. I think I had covered my bases a bit by saying, I wouldn't bet on it though, like actual money. But I think this team is gritty and stood a shot. And for the first 2 minutes and like 38 seconds, like, maybe, even up 7-3, I think the doom of that, half, I think. That clink that, when the kick hit the upright, yeah, that was like we couldn't afford that. You go in halftime 10-10. You just scored. Maybe things, I think things can look different. It's kind of what we talked about, like the Baltimore game, like just going into halftime 14-13 or 14-17. You're down 3, you just scored. You can kind of weather them. Another score on their end if you can respond. This felt like that, especially because Buffalo was going to get the ball to start the half, which they did. They scored. Broncos go 3 and out. They score again, and then the kind of wheels came off. To me, it was a good barometer test. That's the Broncos were a playoff team. Buffalo is a Super Bowl contender. There's a difference, right? Being able to get in the tournament and being able to be a realistic or a betting one of the 5 teams maybe that it's really Detroit. Philly's kind of just because they're like internal stuff, like it's all dramatic and it's just crazy. You go like 14-3, everyone's getting paid pretty well, and everyone's just it all seems weird. Anyway, Kansas City, Buffalo, and Baltimore, right? Those are the teams that I thought, any one of those 3 AFC teams, and Detroit. Essentially, those are the teams I think have what it takes to be able to pull this out. And you saw the gap there, right? This team that can compete with the Chargers and the Texans and the Steelers, and right, like they are in that maybe even the top tier of that second level group, but definitely not in the first. And right. I think there is a talent gap, and you can see it. And over a 60-minute game, it bared fruit. So overly excited about where the team was. This was a game that would have been awesome if they would have won. The energy would have been great. I didn't lose a moment of sleep, or even it didn't put a damper on what I thought the season was. I thought it was a resounding success. Even for the positions that didn't pop, I think you got answers for those. We don't have a good tight end on the roster. You got second and third guys, which is good. But you need a dude. Running back group is less than desirable. You need depth on the defensive line, and you need better inside linebackers. We thought that game stamped it, and I think we're going to talk here about the needs. I think that game alone, I think if you watch that game, you could get your priorities of the offseason to-do list from that game. Sometimes it's not like that. But the best answer that we got from all of that is, did the Broncos find their quarterback? It was the revolving wheel of the carousel of Broncos quarterbacks since Peyton Manning. Graphic, is that graphic dead? And I feel really comfortable saying,
yep. Me too. Yeah. Me too. I think it's pretty clear that League be a little bit of time to set until we can figure out exactly what his feeling is. But he's a guy who can execute the offense that Sean Payton's putting in front of him. He can do so at a fair level. I think that there's still some growth there that we need to see as far as utilizing guys down the field, and part of that comes to play calling. We haven't been too overly critical of Sean Payton, but we have had the gripes with his play calling at times, and I think that still stands. There were times during that game where we were like, we continue to run the same running plays up the middle with guys that aren't your superstar guys. You're not putting your ball in the hands of the guys that can win you this game.
And even when it looked good, right? Like 4 or 5, 6 yards to carry. But there's a difference between 4, 5, and 6. A guy that's able to take that, make a move or two, and get you 10 to 12 to 20, and a guy who only can get you 4 to 5 to 6. And currently we have a guy, Javonte is a guy that can't the swing pass to the right side, right? 30 or 40 years of running and trips on his own feet, can't get up quick enough to stay in it. And I'm super sad. I think Javonte is a what if case for sure.
For sure.
It would have been really wonderful to see what he would have been without injury. And sadly, we can't go back. And so we are where we are now. And I like a running back by committee approach. I think having multiple options. That said, you got to have a guy who makes the game easy for your quarterback. And I thought that the offense had done such a great job. Ryan Edwards actually posted this on Twitter, and I think he talked about it a little bit on the Denver Sports Zoo on KOA. Big shout out to Ryan, great dude. That this Broncos team just doesn't have an easy button, is what he said, right? So on offense, do you have just a drive starter? And Stephon Diggs was that for Buffalo, right? He'll get you 6 to 8 yards on a hitch, 2nd 4, 2nd 2. In the end, can we just give the ball to this person? We'll be able to pick up something easy. We don't have a tight end who can work the middle of the field that we can feel confident in. They're going to win that matchup to just get us going, or good third downs. It's really Cortland Sutton. Last 7 games, Marvin Mims also. I think Devon Vele kind of fell back to earth a little bit than what we expected. Big offseason for Franklin and what he can be, since he's not really a guy built to be a special teams demon. His hands got to get more consistent. Doesn't matter if you're fast. You don't catch it. And you saw the running back room. Nothing came easy, really, which goes to show a little bit more about how phenomenal Bo Nix was. It was a top 10 scoring offense. We haven't had one of those since 2014.
Yeah.
And, leading rusher, leading passer, all that good stuff. And so, actually, I don't know if he's leading rusher, but definitely was the Broncos' best offensive threat, regardless of whether it's throwing or running. And him getting some additional help, I think, obviously is going to be pretty paramount for this team.
Yeah, I think so too. Well, let's talk about Bo Nix just kind of in general for what you've seen from him, just kind of a season in review, just him specifically. What do you think? Kind of hit me with some of your favorite moments or favorite, Bo Nix attributes, things that you think will serve the team in the long run, specific to Bo Nix, because really he's been kind of the biggest. I don't want to say surprise. I think people were optimistic that he could be good, but just kind of the biggest win for this team, the biggest win for this team this season.
Yeah. I don't know that people were optimistic either. I mean, when we were doing the show, I don't want to say that I wasn't, because I was. I think there were other people who were like, 6 quarterback taken and mindful, and mindfully like, that's fair. When was the last time, the 6th center in the NBA draft is the best one? How often does that happen? Or like, not much. And that's a draft where there's only 5 positions, let alone 22. And so my feeling very much, I think that the thing I would take from this, I think there's a couple things. One, his arm is better than I think all of us thought. I do think I thought he had enough arm. He proved actually kind of throughout the season. I think his technique tightened up, and there wasn't a throw I was like, "Ooh, I don't know if he can make that one." Right, which says a ton in the NFL, because that is a big boy league, and that ball is ginormous, and so that's great. I think what also his, there's a leader mentality with him. He is a guy that anytime you hear anyone talk about him, whether it's Mike McGlinchey, who's 49ers and Notre Dame, I mean, he's seen some of the best. Same with Garrett Bowles, who he's not a rookie. This guy's like walks around like a 10-year vet, and even though he's an older rookie, the guy's still first year, right? And this league is a what have you done? Like, you can't be a rah leader if you play like crap. Look at Russell Wilson right now, and kind of how his career is arcing. People aren't going to lead if you're not contributing, and so I think that was something that I kind of thought, but you never know, right? And I think you never know if guys are going to gravitate to a leadership style or not.
Right.
So that's kind of my thing. I think his his aptitude for that, and then additionally how quick he improved midseason, I think is another good indicator that he will continue to kind of arc up. Everyone talk about ceiling. What his ceiling could be? The other guys have a bigger ceiling. Why?
Right.
Like he's a plus athlete. We saw that. He's, my opinion, probably top 5 athlete at the quarterback position in the NFL right now. If you look at being able to run, throw, all that good stuff. Is he Lamar Jackson? No. But Lamar Jackson is generational.
Right.
Josh Allen is, in my opinion, generational in his skill set. There aren't guys just walking around 6'5", 230, run a 4.6 40, and can throw a ball through a gosh darn, all that good stuff. So I think his ability to kind of get the grasp of it, we all watched it. It was pretty painful for the first few weeks, right? Like, not being able to get the play in, the offense just really seemed to struggle. And then something kind of just clicked. In my opinion, it was, right after the New York game, I think he really started to grasp it. And I think his hold on the offense, and this isn't just a cool offense or gimmicky, it's a complicated Sean Payton, F your feelings, like you better be able to spit verbatim and none of it. And if you've heard NFL play calling, there's no succinct like rhyme or reason to a lot of crap, like we're going to join all of these things with states, right? Like sometimes not even that, just whatever they thought of that day or who came up with the play. So to be able to kind of remember that and spit that out and to do it better as the season goes on and not kind of get beat up along the way where, like Bryce Young had to take a back seat, I think, to be able to take a breath to perform better. Nice job, Bryce, showing that us 5'8", 5'9" guys can make it in the league at quarterback. Just saying, call me teams. But that part was huge. Like, you know what? Like maybe, we hope that he would just kind of be good. Give us Derek Carr, and like, we'll be happy a little bit. Like we've had such bad quarterback play for so long that we would even just take like, give me top second, third.
Yeah.
And for us to be able to get, he really was my like top 10 quarterback in touchdowns and yards, all that stuff. And then when you look at it, no run game whatsoever. And Cortland Sutton, and then half of Marvin Mims, really, like that's your passing threats. Javonte Williams, I think, was 3rd in targets, had 55 catches or something like that. Like, It's like Samaje Perine being like your third leading receiver. That's cool. It's not. So I am all on the Bo bandwagon. I really thought he had a valid shot at winning, rookie of the year before the season started, and a ton of that was fit. I think he has an NFL skill set. I think he went to a guy who believed in his skill set and knew that it was a match for what he does schematically. And I think those two marrying, I think the future looks bright. It's one of those where it's like, I think we had said this was the first season where I could see the plan and for the Broncos in a long time. Like, what's our plan? Okay. The way they drafted, Bo Nix being a guy for Sean's kind of a handpicked guy. Like, okay. And then your additions kind of fit that, your emphasis on the offensive line. You beefed up pretty heavy in the defensive. Like, okay, like I'm starting to see it. And I think Bo obviously is a big beacon of that.
Yeah. I mean, I think you covered most of it. I think Bo has shown enough for Broncos country to feel comfortable moving forward and feeling like he's kind of the foundational piece of this offense now, and this team, and someone that you need to be willing to spend some money around to give them weapons to make this team more effective. Thank you.
Just big shout out to Dave.
Yeah,
David,
thank you, David.
One, appreciate you listening as a Raiders fan. My brother is a Raiders fan. One of my best buddies, Stan, big Raiders guy. So one, appreciate you chiming in and all that good stuff. And yep, you nailed it with your Bo Nix. You saw it firsthand, called it, knew it would translate, and it absolutely did.
Yep, for sure. I want to talk to you a little bit about the defense moving forward. I don't know if it's a prevailing feeling, but there's the feeling out there that the Broncos may move on from Vance. Whether that be just Vance getting some opportunities at a head coaching position, or just kind of a difference in wanting to move forward with a different defensive scheme. If that were to occur, what do you think the next thing that this team should be looking at is for the development of this defense? There's good personnel. There's good young players on this defense. Trying to replicate another 60-plus sack season from a defense is going to be really difficult, especially if you change the scheme up. Kind of what's your expectation for that moving forward, assuming Vance isn't back?
Yeah. Even if I think for the most part, I think we'll look at some of the players that are around. They're going to bring back most of, I think, the significant pieces of that defense. I hope and expect another step forward. I think Riley Moss will, barring, knock on wood, another physical setback. I think being able to build on a really good first season as a starter. I think Brandon Jones showed that he's a top third of the league safety, which I think is pretty phenomenal. And Pat Surtain is going to be defensive player of the year probably, right? And then Nick Bonito, all pro, like Zach Allen, all pro. My hope actually is that they look at getting some of those guys under contract now, getting Zach Allen's extension, Nick Bonito done before we go into make or break it season. And then really this season, this team has to really attack the inside linebacker position. Love Alex Singleton. It's going to come back off ACL. I have no doubt if anyone's going to attack the offseason and come back ready to play, Singleton is that dude. That said, the ACL injuries, that's not nothing just because medical advancements and all that good stuff. So I think it needs to be a team that continues to build some stoutness in the run defense that got really leaky towards the end of the season, with or without Vance. I think their ability to minimize the run. I kind of figured that they would be able to slow the Bills down enough that you kind of lull them into not going for big plays. And you called it, hit on the head, said they got to stop James Cook first. And as 3 minutes in to the game, I had to turn to you, said, you're right. Like, geez, man. I mean, James Cook, 12-14, it's demoralizing to lose that way. And if you're going to allow teams to be able to be successful on the ground like that, you're not going to win very much. You're just not. And you saw what happened. The Broncos had the ball for like 20 minutes, like 40 plays, something absurd. It just was pretty rough. So I think that is the area that has to get addressed. How are we going to stop the run? I think the pass rush was more than enough. I don't think that you need to make huge adjustments there. All the big contributors will be back for another season, but that schematically, how they go to stop the run, as well as having some guys. I like PJ Locke. I think he's a good player. I didn't feel his presence as much as I kind of thought I would, especially kind of in the run game. And Jones, in my opinion, is much more of a center fielder. I think we saw that with his strength. Getting 4 interceptions, all that good stuff. So if it's me and I look defensively, I think there are players that will continue to progress, Nick Benito, etc. But schematically and depth-wise, the inside linebacker, defensive line room, I think wore this team down to having some significant weaknesses, especially going into Buffalo.
Yeah, let's talk about the team moving forward a little bit as far as unrestricted free agents for this team. I'm going to read them off. I am reading. Actually, I pulled up SI's list. So let's just go through them and see when we get to the end who we think we need to bring back, if anyone. Starting with DJ Jones, Javonte Williams, Michael Burton, Cody Barton, Justin Shernatt, Riley Dixon, Tremont Smith, Zach Wilson, Jared Stidham, Matt Pert, Zach Cunningham, Lil Jordan Humphrey, Quinn Bailey. In my mind, my estimation, there's not a lot of guys that are really painful to let go in this group, to be honest. Any of these guys that you would prioritize bringing back?
I think one of the 2 backup quarterbacks. I think it sounds kind of weird, but having a reliable guy in there for Bo's development, I kind of joke that Stidham, was a little salty when he didn't win. If you think you're good enough, you should be a little salty.
Sure.
He didn't play horrible in the preseason and training camp. Don't mind that. But one of those 2 guys, I think, having the security, I think that is a priority. Additionally, oddly enough, I think Tremont Smith and what he brings as a special teamer and as a kick returner, I think is pretty big. I'd love to see DJ back, not at $10 to $11 million
right,
for a guy that's not really going to give you much in the pocket pushing presence. And then, Mike Burton. So
sure.
I think that's a guy. PFF had him, I think as the number 1 fullback. And because, what's he going to make? I don't think that's a position. I think being a priority doesn't mean that you're going to overpay. I don't think you can go get pretty good fullbacks around, but having a guy that's in your system that knows your stuff, you don't have to break the bank for, create some consistency. He's a good special teamer. Outside of that, not really. Even if you look at the exclusive free agents, you got Kroll, you got Devon Key, DeAndre Tillman would be a guy I would want to make sure to bring back. Jordan Jackson would be a guy I want to bring back. Jaquan McMillan would be a guy. So I think those guys, Lil Jordan Humphrey, I think it's okay to move on. Quinn Bailey, I will see. I mean, that was a nasty injury, and so I'm not really sure when. Justin Shernatt, I think, is a good special teamer. You saw what happens if he gets consistent play. Really started well for him, and then kind of went downhill. So I actually I wouldn't be hurt if none of them came back. More or less, I don't. Cody Barton, I think, played well at times. Kind of better than what you thought you were going to get when you paid for him. Him coming back as a 3rd linebacker, yeah, for sure. I think that wouldn't be too bad. But I don't want him taking snaps from Drew Sanders or Alex Singleton, or hopefully, a young rookie that comes in that you see some starting potential in. So, no, to be honest, man, none of the list other than pick one backup quarterback, and I would like one of them back, or someone of the same ilk, I guess, right? Someone that can give us a good split, 2-2 over a 4-game span if something were to happen to keep us in relevancy. Like that's essential. I want from the quarterback room, gets good in the locker room, helps out your starter, and can duct tape a season together for a short stretch. I don't think they need to invest in a guy that, is a bridge starter level.
Right.
If Bo goes out, we're not winning a Super Bowl. So let's just top 10, baby, top 10.
Yeah.
Sure. No, man, looking at that list, I'm pretty good. If anyone goes, Zach Wilson, this year made over $8 million. The Broncos didn't pay for all of that. They paid for half, but Jared Stidham, $5 million, DJ Jones, $10 million, Cody Barton, $2.5 million, Javonte, $2.5 million, Tremont Smith, Tremont, $2.5 million. Riley Dixon, almost $2 million. Nope. He was good. He wasn't great. Even that throw in the playoff, that was fine. I want to
sure.
Throw.
Floated a little bit.
A little sting on it. Come on, baby. It's your first throw. It's probably the only time you're going to get a throw ball in a game in your life. You look like you shot put that thing. Anyway, joking. But no, especially at those numbers, $5 million is probably the max I'd want to go for a backup right now. And so, for a run stuffer like DJ, I think Malcolm Roach, it was 2 years, $5 million total. Yeah. So, going to get a guy like that, essentially you're getting better production from Malcolm Roach than you got from DJ, and DJ makes 4 times what he's making. And
potentially you can push the pocket a little bit better too.
Yeah, he had 3.5 sacks, 4 sacks, and I don't think DJ had 4 sacks in his entire time as a Bronco. And not crapping on DJ. That's not why they got him. So,
right.
But it definitely is it's definitely a place, in my opinion. You see it with Chris Jones right there. The Chiefs pass rush is really good when he's on, because when you're in the quarterback's face, you affect all of it, right? You really have to get around the edge and tight to make a quarterback uncomfortable throwing the ball because of the ability to step up. When you're at their feet or you're at their face, it's hard to miss you, right? And the way you're able to impact the game is pretty significant. Franklin Myers and Zach Allen, I think, are 2 dudes. I think Malcolm can start in the middle and then go get some depth. I think it'd be a good time to go get a toolsy later round pick that can, grow into situational work, that kind of stuff. So no one on the list, to be honest with you, that I'm starving for. Anyone on there that you're like, I really want to see them back?
Nah, not really. I think basically the ones that you said, Tremont Smith would be nice just with special teams. He's been a good special teamer for us. Strenat, I could see them bringing him back as a depth guy, but definitely, like you said, we saw what he did in the starting unit. You've got to have guys ahead of him that are going to play. I like DJ Jones, but like you said, I think I'm cheaper that can do that job, or at least do some sort of the mimicry of that job to a certain to that same kind of level, at least generally. Otherwise, no one on that list. Backup quarterback, maybe bring back one of those guys, but I think you bring whoever in that can kind of give you a chance to compete. But like you said, if Bo goes down hurt for an extended amount of time, take the better draft pick and let's move on. That's a young enough team where every high level prospect is going to be valuable to them. I think we kind of land in the same spot. Let's talk about draft real quick before we run out of time. But kind of direction that you would go, any particular players or positions that you would target. Broncos are picking 20th, I think, in the NFL draft, unless they move up or down. Feelings on who they should take, or what position at least. For a while, it was like, I think wide receiver would be really, really impactful. Sure.
I really like what the folks are throwing in where to go. It's at linebacker, tight end, running back, defensive back. I think you got to unlock Richie. I think folks are lining up, hit on the head. I do think you need to add to the defensive backfield. I think you can do that probably later on, unless there's a stud like Malachi Sparks, like Nick. Sure. How do you say his last name? South Carolina guy.
Oh, I don't know. I need to get better. My guy, that's my guy though. Almanwari. Yeah. I'll get it down.
Yeah. But I'm a Tyler Warren or bust guy. I think Ashton Genty is going to be a good player, but we thought Najee Harris could be. We thought, I think Josh Jacobs is a really good player, but even he struggled a little bit, kind of intermittently with making some big plays. So I would rather draft a running back round 2, round 3, than pass up on a guy like Tyler Warren. I think really getting a playmaking tight end, right? I was Brock Bowers or bust last draft cycle. I'm glad that they took Bo Nix, but I definitely had my draft crush on Brock Bowers. You just see how easy it makes the game when you have someone who can not only hold up at the point of attack, but can get you a first down on 3rd and 6. It's pretty significant. If you go look right now, who's left in the playoffs, all the teams have a guy who can hurt you at the tight end position. So that would be the direction that I would go. I think our team listed a big chunk. I don't know about center. Center was one of those that I was like, I think that would be a good place to get, but it's probably going to be another guy that they draft on day 3. In my opinion, it's like, for what, for Forsyth, for Wattenberg, I don't know that those guys would come in and play any better. Getting a guy that I think you could groom for the potential loss of Powers after next year, that would be something. Or, just kind of an overall depth offensive lineman. I'm always for that. I invest in the trenches so the game's won or lost. So, but I think a playmaking linebacker would be phenomenal.
Yeah.
It would be phenomenal. And I think a pass catching tight end or a really elite inside, interior lineman with a pass rushing threat. So I think any of those 3, I'd be super pumped in the first round, which is super weird because really it's kind of like inside linebackers aren't that valuable. So, getting a guy maybe in the 2nd round, like Green Bay did with Edgerrin Cooper last year, I'd be all for that. But getting some speed and some versatility in that 2nd level, I think with where the game has gone and where it's going, the Broncos just, they've been really good and this year, especially with Alex Singleton out, you could see, it was absolutely the spot that teams went to attack. Yeah. But Tyler Warren a bust. I'm on that train till I'm not on that train.
Yeah, I mean, Tyler Warren, I think, is the best tight end in the draft. We've talked a little bit about it. Loveland from Michigan's good. He's not as versatile. I think he's probably more of a pass catcher than he is a blocker. And Warren, just when he's out there, man, if you watched that Penn State Notre Dame game, he was the heart and soul of that offense. He was out there giving it 100% every play. You knew where he was on the field at all times, and he was a threat at all times. And was very impressed by his showing there. But just all season, he's been consistent. He's been that for them. He's been kind of a threat down the field, and just a guy that'll go, put someone on their backside. You mentioned Mari. If I'm saying his name right, I'm still learning, but he's kind of my top safety prospect if they wanted to attack someone early, at that position. It is kind of a question mark as to whether you take that guy 20th overall or not, just because of the positional value, but I like him a lot. I like Williams. There's a lot of Ohio State guys I like. Obviously, Ohio State guys. So, but there's a lot of guys on that team that I'd like to see the Broncos look at.
Xavier Watts, I think, is a guy that's been a good player at Notre Dame.
For sure.
Yeah. Nick Emenwari.
Yeah. Either of the running backs for Ohio State, I think, could look good in this backfield. Whether that be Judkins or Henderson, I think Judkins probably has a little more three down back upside, but Henderson's probably more of a home run hitter. So, you take your negatives with your positives. Omarion Hampton at running back just looks like like he could be a three down back. He's got
6'1", 220. Yeah, he's everything. That's for sure.
Yeah. There's just a lot of guys to look at it kind of as this draft cycle goes through. I think that they could use another corner. I have faith in Riley Moss, but beyond Riley Moss and Patrick Surtain, I like Macmillan. But I don't know that you can't upgrade there at some point, and so finding a young guy that could maybe plug in at some point would be good. I don't know that you want to attack that too early. I think wide receiver is kind of a big question mark in the first round. I think something I could see them doing, just because looking back on the season, there were good moments from a lot of guys in that room. I like Vele. I have hope that he can develop into a third wide receiver, maybe a fourth wide receiver, and be consistent. In Mims, obviously, we saw what he can do down the stretch of this season, but consistency is still a question mark there. I think you're going to have to find ways for him to get himself open that aren't just, designs in the backfield or straight line kind of plays. I wouldn't be opposed to them taking a wide receiver first round. You don't probably have to, but if you really love a guy, and Sean Payton, as we know, likes to fall in love with guys that fit into his offensive scheme. You can find a guy that he loves. What's his name? Burden out of Missouri, someone like that.
Yeah, Burden.
That probably is not going to fall into the second round. Then I'm fine with it if they decide to go that direction. I think you need upside on this offense, whether it be at the wide receiver, tight end position, or running back position. I think that's.
You need versatility. You need guys that can create. Like it's, like I said, the easy button. It's a little bit. I think Dylan Sampson from Tennessee gives me Alvin Kamara vibes. Guys like that just Caleb Johnson out of Iowa, guys that can, not focus on carries, but focus on touches, right? And guys that can make plays to show them the capability to do some special stuff with the ball in their hand. We just don't have, Cortland is a 70-30 guy, boom, but not a yak guy necessarily, right? And so you got Marvin Mims as your yak, your guy that can do something special with the ball in his hands. In my opinion, that's it right now. And so, like you said, getting some guys with some upside, some wiggle, some juice, like this offense just really needs that. We did not get much above the X's and O's, essentially what it was drawn up for. That's where we got to. So I think, coming away from this draft with at least two guys, I would rather have it be a playmaking tight end and a 3-down running back that's got some special to him, and go get a nice solid number 2 vet in free agency. What you thought you were going to kind of get Josh Reynolds. There's guys like that I think pop all the time, or maybe someone on the back end of their career that can come in and be a really solid. But you got a nice joker option in the backfield and at tight end. Maybe take a day 3 swing at a really toolsy small school guy in the wide receiver position, or maybe someone like that can grow into to that. So good part is, right, the Broncos got 50 plus million in cap space, especially with the available cash on hand that the Broncos have. They can front load a lot of things. Like we looked at, not a lot of guys that we necessarily need to bring back. So I expect a lot of 1-year deals, vet mins to kind of fill out the roster for the most part. Some depth stuff, not real big signings. I don't think they need that. So maybe just a couple solid options if some guys at receiver, et cetera, inside linebacker making themselves available that this team can do, and then really kind of going all in on the draft and trying to come in with some guys who will contribute pretty early.
Yeah. And I think, honestly, there are some good, and I just want to shout out, local guys that you could draft at the wide receiver position. You're looking at Torrey Horton, out of Colorado
Yeah.
State. He's a really good prospect. Maybe a little light, 185, but 6'3". Had a heck of a game against CU last year. Has really just been really productive at Colorado State. And then you have all the guys over at CU that I think have some upside. Junior, quick, speedy. I don't know if you need another guy like that or not, but he's definitely somebody you would look at. LeJonte Wester, kind of the same feel. He's got some upside. He's even more slight. Will Shepherd's probably one that I look at just because I like I think he's got an NFL. He's got a great hand. It's more about consistency and his kind of effort, play to play. But those are just kind of guys in Colorado that you can look at and that maybe you would have an inside track into landing or at least getting eyes on, just because they're, just because of the locale. We'll get into draft talk more. We are out of time for today. Thank you everyone for showing up. We love talking draft, so it's just going to be an ongoing theme. And Broncos season really never ends. NFL's a year-round sport now.
It's the king.
We'll be into it, and we'll be posting mocks and comparing mocks. As the season goes along, or the off season goes along, rather. But thank you again for being with us. So we're going to call it a day. Broncos, or not Broncos, yeah, we talked so much Broncos. Nuggets play Rockets tonight, big game. Second seed in the West versus the fourth seed in the West. Only 3 games separate them. We need a full team effort.
Gotta go get it. Gotta go get it. Make a statement, boys. Make a statement.
For sure. So catch that tonight, and we will catch you next week. So thank you. We appreciate you. And remember, if you need a sports prescription, ask a doctor.
I got you.
Fast lane when I pass in the street, bag of money in the passenger seat. Tempo's been asking for me on the road from the west to the east. Way up, I might never come down, cause the coast racking up the flight miles. So high, I might never come down, so what, this is my lifestyle. Wait a minute. Work hard for the car, so that's why it's all tinted. Wait a minute.